The Magic's hopes after the All-Star break take a major hit with Franz Wagner out indefinitely. All eyes turn to Paolo Banchero to save the season today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is February 19th, 2026. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com, credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, the Magic get the worst possible news as Franz Wagner will be out indefinitely, missing at least the next 3 weeks as he continues to deal with the high ankle sprain. How the Magic move forward without Franz and why these final 29 games are now all about Paolo Banchero. We're going to get to that coming up here in just a moment. I will apologize. I am feeling very sick today, so if my energy is a little bit lower than normal and I try to speed through this, I do apologize. Before we do any of that, though, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. You can make Locked On Magic an even bigger part of your day by being one of our Orlando Magic dailies. That means you listen 5 days a week. That means we are part of your regular podcast rotation. That means we are your first listen of the day. That means you're part of our everydayer club. We want to thank you for helping make the Locked On Magic community such a strong and growing community, and we want to thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the number one sports podcast network. It's your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Have your cake and drink it too. Birthday cake flavor is back. No fork needed. Vanilla-y, cakey flavor, caffeinated kick, and no sugar. It is party time. Order now at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. We've spent the last 2 days talking about what feels now like this mythical moment when the Magic would have all of their players available. We spent our time talking about how the Magic just haven't been whole for the last 2 years, and that we haven't really seen this team come fully together. And if there was a little bit of hope that the Magic could salvage something from this season, that the Magic could build some momentum into the offseason, it was that these last 29 games would be proof of concept that what the Magic have works. The stats all say it does. Magic's starting lineup still one of the best starting lineups in the league. The Magic's main quartet of Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, Jalen Suggs, Desmond Bane still has incredible offensive and defensive ratings, incredible net rating. Maybe not like one of the elite quartets in the league, but still very, very good. And there is no reason to think that this group could not figure things out if only they were healthy. But all that took a huge blow on Wednesday morning and Wednesday afternoon, when the Magic announced that Franz Wagner, after further scans and further examination, was still feeling soreness in his left ankle, in his left foot. That suffered a high ankle sprain back on December 7th. And after careful deliberation, the Magic decided it was time to shut him down again for a period to let that soreness subside. Franz Wagner will be out indefinitely. He will be reevaluated in 3 weeks. That is March 11th. That means he will miss at least 11 games. And in all likelihood, there needs to be a ramp-up period of another week. So that's probably another 2 or 3 games there. That is nearly half of the 29 remaining games this season. The Magic are not uncomfortable playing hurt. They've been doing it all season, but undoubtedly, Franz's injury point. In the 29 games since Franz Wagner's injury back in New York, Orlando is 14-15. They are 25th in offensive rating in that time. They are 20th in defensive rating. It is a testament to their talent and their potential that they've been able to stay afloat, but this team has not been consistent. And that's not all because Franz is out, but certainly having one of your best players, having one of your better players on the floor, like, yeah, That matters. And everybody knows it matters. Now, I'll make the argument and I'll continue to say that nothing changes. This team is talented enough and good enough, if they could put all the pieces together, to still achieve their goals this season. And again, whether you want to hear it or not, their goal for the rest of the season is to get out of the play-in. That's all that matters. That's how I'm going to judge these 29 games. And that doesn't change because Franz Wagner is out. But this team can't compete at the highest levels without their full complement of players, without all of their players in place and in rhythm. And the fact of the matter is, these last 2 seasons, the Magic have struggled to get all those pieces in place. Orlando finished 12-6 last year because Paolo and Franz found their groove together. And the Magic are going to need a similar push. We'll talk about Paolo here in a minute. But this is a humongous loss. This is another crushing blow from a guy who was averaging 23.4 points per game, shooting 48.7% from the floor and 35.4% from three, having the breakthrough that everybody hoped for, showed signs even in the that he's played since of the player who can make a huge difference. Clearly not all the way back in those games, but the Magic clearly have enough. Again, in 148 minutes and 13 games together, the Magic's main trio of Paolo, Franz, and Jalen Suggs have a 119.3 offensive rating and 106.9 defense. This is a good group. This thing works. And there are tweaks that need to be made. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, just run it back, it's fine. No, the Magic do need to injury-proof their roster a little bit more. It's been 2 straight years of injuries, and the Magic have had the bottom fall out on them. And again, we'll talk about Paolo here in a minute. The Magic have just simply struggled since Franz got hurt. And while it's been good to see Anthony Black emerge, and he's been a big reason why the team has stayed afloat. And it's been good to see Desmond Bane be what the Magic need him to be. It's been clear that the whole isn't more than the sum of their parts. And that's why Franz is so important, because he is an elevator. He is someone that makes others better, that takes attention away, can attack off the dribble, which the Magic don't have enough guys who can attack off the dribble. That is something they have to address in the offseason. That's the direction this league is going offensively, having everybody be able to attack off the dribble. The Magic don't have enough of those guys. And we'll see in the playoffs when the Magic get there. It's going to be the Magic banging their head against a wall again, just like it was against Cleveland, just like it was against Boston. This is a huge loss. And, again, I am sick. That's why my energy is low. It's not because of this, but certainly it feels like there is this pall over the team. And the point now is to get over it. Because now that Franz is out for an extended period of time, all eyes are back on Paolo Banchero. Let's talk about what the Magic need from their star coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Energy. Welcome. Energy Flavor Draft. We are looking at every aspect of the draft to let you know which tasty flavors are the best and which just might be sleepers. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and only one is going to take the top spot. 5 Hour Energy has a wide variety of flavors, something for everyone that certainly I could use right now because my energy is super low because I am sick. I apologize. I am sick. There are so many great flavors like confetti craze, fruity rainbow, or cotton candy. No matter what your favorite flavor is, 5 Hour Energy gives you the kick you need to get through your day. Find your new favorite flavor of 5 Hour Energy shots available at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. We want to thank you for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. We want to thank you for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't done so already, go check out our Everydayer Club. The Everydayer Club gets you access to an ad-free audio feed of this podcast, and it gets you access to our Locked On Discord server. So you can chat with other Magic fans during games. I'm in there. I post my 3 thoughts after every quarter. That's exclusive to the Discord server. And you can chat with other NBA fans on the Locked On NBA channel. Go to lockedonmagic.supercast.com. That's magic.supercast.com to learn more about the Everydayer Club. I've been saying this to people for a while. Look, this season is not just about injuries. Like, injuries are a big part of the problem. And, like, it's hard for any team to overcome the major injuries that this team has had to fight through and deal with. It'd be one thing if you missed Tristan da Silva and you were playing Jonathan Isaac or Noah Penda in that spot. It'd be one thing if it's, Mo Wagner was out for a long time. You got Goga Batadze. It's one thing if it's a role player. But the Magic have been missing key stars throughout the course of this season. And it is really hard to win when you're missing key players. But I want to make this clear too. Again, like, everyone is freaking out about the injuries. They're questioning the medical staff. And I think there are some fair questions. Like, again, I don't like to question the medical staff because they're just working with more information than us. And look, high ankle sprains are really tricky, really tricky. Franz is someone who wants to play. I think this is a case, as much as anything, of Franz thinking he's better than he is, and he's not, and he wasn't ready in both instances that he came back. He wants to help his team win, and sometimes you got to protect the player from himself a little bit. But whether you're talking about the problems with coaching, and again, it feels like the Magic are going to have to really examine Jamal Mosley this summer because they can't change the roster, as I noted earlier this week. This core is the core. They're not changing that. And so you have to ask yourself, with 2 straight first-round exits, 2 disappointing seasons, what can you change? We could talk about whether Wendell Carter is the right option. I know I'm certainly more of a Wendell Carter supporter than most Magic fans, but Wendell Carter is another player that I think will be shopped and will be looked at to move. But all of that is dancing around the bigger problem. All of that is dancing around the bigger issue of this season. And that is quite simply, Paolo Banchero hasn't been good enough. Excuse me. Now, a lot of people have taken that criticism and said, oh, I hate Paolo. I don't. I love this kid. I think he is a great player. I think he can be that all-NBA player. I believe in him, and we'll talk plenty about him in the offseason. But you don't give up on a 23-year-old that's accomplished the things and done the things that he's done. For all the criticisms that we want to say about Paolo, he is trying to do the right things. He is taking fewer mid-range shots. I know he is missing those pull-up shots and missing a lot of those mid-range shots, but he's taking fewer of them. Getting to the basket more. He's still a free throw merchant. He's averaging a career high in rebounds. His assist numbers are right in line with where they're supposed to be. He's actually shooting even a career high true shooting percentage. Now, I will grant you that true shooting percentage, it's 55.8%, I believe. That true shooting percentage is still bottom 10 in the league among players with a usage rate of 25% who play at least 25 minutes per game. I will also note that usage rate is better than some notable players, including Jalen Williams, who a lot of people tend to compare Paolo to. Paolo has not Paolo's delivered statistically. Sure, he hasn't had the scoring burst games, and the Magic are going to need those. He has only 5 30-point games this year. He had, I think, 18 last year. He had 18 30-point games last year. He only has 5 so far this year. Desmond Bane has more 30-point games this year. And that's not an end-all, be-all measurement. But I think that speaks to one of Paolo's big struggles, because ultimately what you need your star to do at times is to take over, is to be the guy that just carries you over the finish line. And there have been a lot of games this year where Paolo has just disappeared in the fourth quarter. There's 0 for 7 in the fourth quarter against the Bucks before the break. He had that terrible fourth quarter against the Raptors where the Magic scored only 12 points on the road in Toronto in a big loss. And you could talk about the decision to take the 3 there. I thought that was a fine shot. It's not a great shot. I thought it was fine. If the Magic are going to accomplish their goals, then they need Paolo to put all of the doubts to rest. And look, he's done it before. If we were excited about Paolo, if we were excited this season, it was justified. After the All-Star break last year, he averaged 29 points per game, 7.8 rebounds per game, and 4.5 assists per game. He shot 47.3% from the floor, had a 58.1% true shooting percentage. Against the Celtics in the playoffs, he showed up. He's consistently showed up in the playoffs with 29.4 points per game against Boston. So I want to make that clear. Do not give up on the kid. Do not give up on him at all. And regardless of what happens this year, this offseason is the most important offseason of his career. Whatever he did in the offseason that rearranged his weight or whatever happened to him, he came into camp slow. I don't want to say he came into camp fat. Like, I don't think that's the case. He came into camp slow and less athletic. And he lost something that made him dangerous. He doesn't have the same explosion going to the basket. He doesn't have the same lift on his jumper. This is a year of stagnation at best and regression more likely. And it's hard to win if your best player is either out with an injury, which again, Franz has been out for 25 of the last 29 games, or your best player just isn't delivering what you hope for. Now, again, like the Magic will in exit interviews. I'm sure they are talking to him. I'm sure they understand why Paolo isn't completely sold on the Magic's offense. I think that's a mistake on Paolo's part. I think this offense does really benefit him. And he hasn't quite found his fit with it. And again, it's too stagnant. Like, he is too stagnant. He wants to play like Carmelo Anthony, and that's not going to be effective for this team. But regardless of what he's done for the first 53 games of this season, these last 29 games are going to tell us a lot. These last 29 games are all about Paolo Banchero. And again, the Magic aren't giving up on him. Like, we'll talk Giannis trades. We'll talk Kawhi trades. We'll talk about the potential for the Magic to push some chips in and move off their young player to be better more immediately. Because that conversation's going to happen. I don't think the Magic will do it. I don't think the Magic should do it. Because I believe in Paolo Banchero. I believe he can, I hold him to a high standard because he has earned that high standard. And I want him to hit that. I don't think accountability is wrong in this instance. But these last 29 games with Franz Wagner potentially out for the season, like, again, like, by the time Franz Wagner comes back, we'll be in the final 15 games. We'll be in the final 10 games. I don't know if Franz Wagner's coming back. I don't know if it's worth it. The Magic have to make it worth it to bring Franz Wagner back. Because if the Magic are sitting in 8th, there's no reason to bring Franz back. If the Magic falter, there's no reason to bring him back. And so it's on Paolo to make something of the season. It's unfair to put it all on his shoulders. It is. But this is on him. And if the Magic are going to get to the 6th seed, they need Paolo to look like an all-star once again. And that's where I want to close the show, because there's a lot of doom and gloom, and that's fair. But there's still plenty to believe in this team. We'll talk about that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Quo. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think there has to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo. There's a smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. I love how simple Quo makes everything. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number so nothing gets missed. Everyone sees the full conversation thread, which makes replies faster and more personal. It works right from your phone or computer, and you can even keep your existing number. And Quo's smart AI tools automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight next steps so details never slip through the cracks. It's no surprise Quo is the number one rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses from solo operators to growing teams. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedonnba. That's Quo, QUO.com/lockedonnba. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is also brought to you by our friends over at Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I'll be reading this ad, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of the show will get $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. The definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result. Like, that's why we're frustrated that the Magic didn't make a deal at the deadline. That's why we're expecting the Magic to make changes to the roster, changes to coaching staff this offseason. Something is clearly not working. Something is clearly off with this team that goes beyond the injuries. And if the Magic think it's just the injuries, just like they did last year, then they are fooling themselves. So let me make that clear, because I am a conservative guy. I tend to rationalize. I tend to believe like, oh, as long as management's acting rationally, I'm usually okay with what they do, because I'm not working with the same information they are. But very much so, we're already looking to the offseason. Like I mentioned, this feels like a lame duck second half of the season. We're already thinking about the offseason and what changes the Magic plan to make. That's the reality of it. That's the reality of what's going on. And so we've seen this team now for 2.5 months, for 29 games, play, except for 4 games, without Franz Wagner. We have seen this team be one of the worst teams in the league. We've seen the good be just okay. This team is a 500 team. Their record, I mean, Dennis Green says it, you are what your record says you are. And there is no getting around it. This Magic team isn't the team we imagined at the beginning of the season. And they are a 500 team right now. And a 500 team is going to the play-in tournament. Just plain and simple. It is fair not to believe things will change. We've seen this team without Franz Wagner for 2.5 months. Why would we think things would change? Now, like, obviously, like, maybe Paolo comes back refreshed, a little, those workout videos of the Bahamas, like, get something to click. The Magic maybe tweak some things and tweak their offense a little bit to fit him now that they know Franz is going to be out for 3 weeks. There's, a certain timetable on that. And again, Franz is probably, there is at least a 40% chance Franz is done for the season. And that, again, like, just like last year, the clarity of knowing you're not getting Jalen Suggs back helped this team find their groove and find their way to play. They weren't sitting and waiting for players to come back healthy. So this could be a good thing that the Magic finally put a timeline on something and said, okay, for the next 3 weeks, these are our guys. And even with how much they have struggled, their 4 guys, or their 3 guys, Banchero, Suggs, and Bane, without Wagner, have played 236 minutes together and have put together a solid outing, a 118.8 offensive rating and a 110.3 defensive rating. That's those 3 together without Wagner on the floor. That should still be enough. Now, the Magic starting lineup with Anthony Black and Wendell Carter, with that trio, has a +7 net rating in 201 minutes. It is the most used lineup. Their defense is actually pretty good, 106.7 defensive rating. And the Magic's problem for most of this year has been when they break that lineup up and they lose some of those offensive weapons, the offense creators and the defense creators. Because like Paolo and Desmond Bane aren't elite defenders. Suggs is certainly an elite defender when he wants to be. Black can be an elite defender when he wants to be. Wendell Carter is solid, but not fantastic. The Magic are still kind of for themselves. And that's been the issue all season, is Orlando hasn't been able to put the pieces together. They haven't been able to lock things into place. Will they be able to do that after the All-Star break? That is the ultimate question. But let's be real. Even though this Magic team has fallen well short of expectations so far, even though the Magic certainly should be better than they have been, they still have the talent and the ability to be a 5 or a 6 seed even without Franz Wagner. And again, this is all about, let's not baby this team. Let's hold them to the standard that they want to set for themselves. I'm not expecting the Magic to win a playoff series if Franz is out. I still expect this team to get to the 6th seed. I still expect this team to catch Philadelphia. Paolo Banchero is that good. Desmond Bane's that good. Jalen Suggs can be that good. Anthony Black has been that good. There's no reason to not believe in this team other than they haven't done it for the last 2.5 months. And so the vision stays the same. The idea stays the same. The goals stay the same. The Magic, as much as fans want to pack it up and say, let's wait for next season. Like, we don't have a draft pick. Like, there's nothing to lose anymore. The Magic don't have a draft pick next year. There's no draft party for the Magic next year. They need to hit their standards. They need to play to their standards. And it can't be woe is me that Franz is out. Thursday's game against Sacramento, a team that has the worst record in the league, that is on a 14-game losing streak, that announced that Domantas Sabonis and Zach LaVine had season-ending surgery over the week. Beating the Sacramento Kings is a must. And the Magic, we're going to learn just how serious the Magic are in this game Thursday. Like, first game back from the break can always be a little squirrely, and it's always a measure of focus, attention, and rhythm. But none of that should matter because the Magic are a better team. And they can't let Sacramento hang around. They've got to do their thing. They got to set the tone for the last 29 games in this one. And if the Magic come out sloppy, if the Magic look like they've looked for the last 2.5 months, it's going to be more of that for the rest of the year. If the Magic come out sharp and focused and intense, then maybe there is just a little bit of hope. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Emily, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the places to download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. You can check us out on YouTube as well. Just search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can check us out there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. You can also check us out on the Everydayer Club. Get access to an ad-free audio feed of this podcast, plus access to the Locked On Discord server to chat with other Magic and NBA fans. You can check that out at lockedonmagic.supercast.com. We want to thank you for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. For those of you on video, we'll send you the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen NBA game night on Locked On NBA. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode. We'll be back tomorrow, hopefully tomorrow. We'll see how I'm feeling. But we'll be back tomorrow in some capacity to break down the Magic's game against the Sacramento Kings. Until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic. This has been Phil Rossman-Reich. We'll see y'all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.